They are the only dikephalous conjoined twins known to have survived, and they have lived their entire lives in a small, tight-knit society, shielded from prying eyes. Abby and Brittany Hensel were conjoined twins born in 1990, having a single body. From Oprah to their own reality program, millions of people watched them on television for decades. They went on to become teachers, drive automobiles, and led regular lives. Then the internet took off in 2024. Photos from a secret wedding came to light. Something more significant was suggested by an enigmatic TikTok. All of a sudden, everyone had the same query: what actually became to the twins? The reality is more shocking than anyone could have predicted. On March 7, 1990, Abby and Brittany Hensel were born in Carver County, Minnesota. However, this was no typical birth. The birthing room fell silent at 12:17 a.m. The babies had two heads on one body and were dicephalic, parapigous twins. Their combined weight was 11.5 pounds. Their parents were taken aback. Nobody had anticipated this. Only one birth out of every 200,000 is affected by this uncommon disease. Physicians from all around the nation hurried to visit them. They were curious as to how this might have happened. 2 days later, a significant operation was carried out by surgeons. Between their necks, a tiny third arm was developing. It needed to be taken out. The girls survived the 6 arduous hours of surgery. It marked the beginning of what would turn out to be a remarkable life. Even the most intelligent doctors were astounded by the way their bodies functioned. Brittany was in charge of the left side, while Abby was in charge of the right. Even though each had a unique heart and lungs, their organs still needed to work together. Despite having differing heartbeats, they both circulated blood throughout their bodies. They only had one digestive system, but they had 2 stomachs. They both felt it if one of them ate anything unhealthy. They even needed to synchronize their breathing to avoid problems. Even simple tasks were difficult during their first year. Every day, feeding was a puzzle. It wouldn't work if they didn't swallow simultaneously. To allow them to drink simultaneously, their mother, Patty, created a bottle with 2 nipples. Trial and error lasted for days, but it was successful. It was also difficult to fall asleep. One twin may be fully awake while the other is preparing to go to sleep. As a result, their grandparents and parents alternated staying up late. Despite how exhausting it was, they persisted. Then something happened that altered everything. Together, Brittany and Abby crawled when they were 8 months old. They succeeded after weeks of hard work and a lot of tears. The entire family applauded. They ate ice cream and cake. It was like taking home a gold medal. Despite the happiness, their parents had to make a painful choice. Should they attempt to keep the twins apart? The physicians stated there was little possibility. One or both may not make it. One might have severe difficulties even if they did. Their parents, who felt that Abby and Brittany were stronger together, rejected the idea after weeks of deliberation. Despite disagreements, the family remained steadfast. Early on, they began treatment, teaching the girls how to live both as 2 people and as one. On October 8, 1996, Abby and Brittany appeared on television for the first time. When they appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show, they were 6 years old. The audience was in a state of shock. These girls were flourishing, not simply getting by. They discussed eating, sleeping, and even fighting, as well as how they used a coin flip to end arguments. They were admired for their honest and composed demeanor. There were more shows after that. They even have their own television show on TLC in 2012, but they remained the same despite fame. They remained modest and secretive. One thing remained constant during all of this. They were never treated as a medical enigma by their parents. They were brought up by Patty and Mike Hensel as 2 females with a single amazing body. They provided them with autonomy, encouragement, and a solid sense of self. Abby and Brittany never thought of themselves as odd or damaged as a result. Brittany and Abby Hensel were raised in a rural Minnesota town. From the outside, they appeared to be just another group of children leaving for school every morning, but in each classroom, their ability to collaborate as a team astounded both teachers and students. Abby's right arm and leg were under her control. Brittany was in charge of the left, and they moved in unison somehow. They were even able to write simultaneously. One sentence, 2 pens, and 2 hands. People stopped and stared at it alone. They were already dividing up the tasks in the early years. Abby had a keen sense of science and statistics. Brittany had a passion for storytelling, history, and words. As a result, they assisted one another in writing essays and the other in calculating equations. Who accomplished more was never the issue. They simply worked together on everything. However, school was more than just books. There were actual problems in gym class. The majority of children played, ran, and jumped mindlessly. Brittany and Abby had to consider every move. Abby would cover one side of their body when playing volleyball. The other was handled by Brittany Fredney. It required time, coordination, and countless repetitions. Nevertheless, they played. They engaged in competition. They continued to arrive up without ever requesting a simpler or different rule. They achieved a significant milestone in 2008, Mayer Lutheran High School graduation. However, this was more than simply crossing a stage. The honor roll had included them. They participated in activities. They spoke. They were respected. Obtaining a driver's license, something that many 16-year-olds aspire to, was one of their greatest accomplishments that year. However, they had to take the test twice. Abby operated the radio and the pedals. Brittany operated the lights and turn signals. They learned to steer together. Each of them was assessed independently during the test. That equated to 1 car, 2 licenses, and 2 test results. They made it through. They earned it not because someone made an exception. It was among the best illustrations of their ability to work together under duress. The entire audience was affected by their graduation address. They discussed remaining united, persevering in how their education influenced their identities. The news swiftly swept outside of Minnesota. News organizations reported on it. People began tracking their journey all around the nation. Abby and Brittany attended Bethel University in Minnesota after graduating from high school. They made the decision to pursue education. They initially thought about picking several areas of focus, but the workload made it too difficult. Together, they decided on a single course. It was not a regression. It was a wise choice. When things went tough, they always knew how to adapt. One of them would take notes during university lectures, whereas the other would listen intently to the lecturer. They would then take turns. They occasionally contributed 2 distinct viewpoints to the same subject in group work, which energized class discussions. At first, it was difficult to make friends. They broke the ice with their humor and upbeat attitude, even though most people had never met someone like them. They eventually rose to prominence on campus. They even joined the team that plays volleyball and made their own special contribution. They received their degrees in education from Bethel University in 2012. The audience erupted in cheers once more as soon as they took the stage. Each of them received a diploma from the university. Despite having the same body, classes, and travel, they were awarded 2 degrees. A considerate 2-for-1 tuition policy was implemented for them, acknowledging both their individual efforts and their common circumstance. And Brittany Hensel were never the same person, despite being born into the same body. It was obvious from the start. 2 lives, 2 voices, and 2 minds. Abby loves numbers and is outspoken and self-assured. She expresses her opinions and tackles issues head-on. Brittany is quiet, collected, and considerate. She is the author, the one who thinks things through before acting. You can know who they are even by their attire. Abby likes vibrant hues and designs. Brittany uses gentle tones and keeps things simple. As a result, they are given clothes with 2 necklines, 1 for each. Although their bodies are one, their responses are not. Caffeine causes Brittany's heart to gallop. Abby is completely emotionless. They don't argue, even though one of them may grow tired before the other while they're walking or doing anything physically demanding. They toss a coin if they can't agree. They alternate if one wants to go right and the other left. They are experts at maintaining equilibrium. They accomplished a significant feat thanks to such equilibrium. They started teaching 5th grade in 2012. When 2 conjoined twins entered a Minnesota school and began their careers, the entire world watched. They had recently received their degrees in education from Bethel University. They were prepared. However, it was unclear to the school district how to recruit a person with 2 minds. The principal needed assistance, so he called human resources. Since they were 2 different professions, they ultimately received 2 different contracts. They only received 1 salary, though given that they were both licensed teachers, that didn't seem fair. Brittany and Abby, though, didn't voice any complaints. They disproved everyone's assumptions and prioritized the children before the money. They became among of Sunnyside Elementary's most adored teachers in less than a year. It takes effort to teach conjoined twins. Governs the body's right side. Brittany is in charge of the left. Every gesture, every action, and every syllable written on the chalkboard had to be executed precisely in time. They alternate speaking in class. While one teaches, the other assists students who are struggling or lagging behind. The outcome: children feel heard. They experience support. One of the twins' greatest assets now is that. However, not every day was simple. Can you even teach like this? A student asked them during their first year. It might have been a painful experience. Rather, they transformed it into a potent lesson about respect and diversity. Their students remembered that moment. To promote good behavior, they implemented a new classroom point system in 2015. The entire school noticed how nicely it worked. The phrase "it's like having two teachers in one" was being used by students by 2017. It's fantastic. Their influence continued outside of the classroom. 2018 saw some incredible results from a student poll. Because of Abby and Brittany, the majority of children reported feeling more comfortable discussing their difficulties. They spread their message across the country in 2020. Thousands of instructors listened to them speak at a significant education conference. Their suggestions for creating an inclusive classroom are implemented in schools around the nation. They have always been admired by their colleagues. According to one principal, the twins invigorated the entire school. Math was once thought to be dull by children. No more. It was exciting because of Abby and Brittany. Abby and Brittany Hensel collaborate in a way that seems nearly unbelievable. In one classroom, Brittany might be writing on the board while Abby explains a math issue. They then switch after a few seconds. They seamlessly transition between characters 37 times during a 2023 documentary filming session. Additionally, they successfully completed a science experiment in 2024 that required precise coordination and split-second timing. The crowd was astounded by how well they coordinated as a team. However, this type of collaboration did not begin yesterday. When Abby and Brittany were barely 6 years old, they made their first appearance on The Oprah Winfrey Show, which brought them international notoriety. At the age of 22, they made a comeback to the public eye with their own reality show, Abby and Brittany, which debuted on TLC on August 28, 2012. The moment was ideal. The show followed their initial forays into adulthood after they had recently graduated from Bethel University in Minnesota. The 8-episode series offered viewers a glimpse inside their world. They are conjoined twins, meaning they have two heads but one body. Abby is in charge of the right side, Brittany on the left. Therefore, cooperation is essential for even the most basic activities like riding a bike or operating a vehicle. However, they made it appear simple. They demonstrated how collaboration comes naturally to people who have spent their entire lives doing it, whether they were playing volleyball, shopping with friends, or just kidding about. They also went beyond staying in the area. They were trailed across the world by the show. They worked on their British accents in London and relished high tea. In Italy, they threw coins into Rome's Trevi Fountain and sailed in a gondola in Venice. These were not merely enjoyable moments. They demonstrated the twins' inquisitiveness and bravery in their exploration of the world. A significant next step was the main topic of the last program. They were getting ready to become certified 5th-grade math teachers, not just assisting in a classroom. Although it was a significant leap, they were prepared for it. It was later verified that they were hired and began teaching in Minnesota. The public was unable to quit observing. The way they handled situations like driving, when each twin had to pass a different test, astounded the viewers. Deeper issues like marriage, relationships, and whether or not they desired children were also topics of discussion. However, Abby and Brittany did not discuss those subjects. Fans became even more intrigued by the mystery. The twins decided to live a more subdued life after the last episode broadcast on October 7, 2012. They largely avoided the spotlight and concentrated on their careers. Something quietly historic occurred in Minnesota on November 13, 2021. One half of the well-known conjoined twins, Abby Hensel, married. Only close friends and family attended the private ceremony. As maid of honor, her sister Brittany, who is physically identical to Abby, proudly stood by her. Army veteran and nurse Josh Bowling, 33, was dressed in a gray suit. Isabella, his 6-year-old daughter, was the flower girl who walked down the aisle. A specially designed outfit that fit their distinct shapes was worn by Abby and Brittany. Speaking from both Brittany's and Abby's hearts, Abby read the vows. There was love in the room. The wedding wasn't the only event. It was a potent representation of choice, strength, and unification. However, nobody outside of their network knew for nearly 3 years. The marriage was kept a secret until March 2024, when it was made public by public records. Many were horrified by the news, not because of the scandal, but because it brought up issues no one had ever thought to ask. How does such a marriage function? How does one go about their daily life? All of a sudden, everyone wanted to know. The mystery was increased by Josh's background. He was previously married. His ex-wife filed for divorce and a paternity suit in 2023. The headlines went crazy. People were no longer merely interested. They were excavating. Nevertheless, Abby and Josh remained firm despite the commotion. They did not flee the limelight. Rather, they provided a little glimpse into their lives. Wedding pictures posted to their combined Facebook page featured a happy, laid-back couple with family and friends. Abby was radiant. Peace caught Josh's attention. Even Brittany, who was always in the photo, appeared happy. It was more than romanticism. It has to do with cooperation. Long before the world realized it, their life together had already begun. It wasn't easy to become a family. It isn't possible. However, they managed to make it work. Isabella was only a young child when they were married, so Abby took on the role of stepmother. Brittany wasn't just watching, she also contributed. Together, they created a predictable, patient, and caring household. Together, they played games, cooked, took Isabella on field excursions, and assisted her with her schoolwork. Although it wasn't a conventional arrangement, their lives had never been conventional in any way. Nevertheless, it succeeded. For them, daily existence is an emotional and physical balancing act. In New Brighton, Minnesota, Abby and Brittany continue to teach arithmetic to 5th graders. Josh provides hospice care as a nurse, assisting veterans in their last moments. To make everyone feel at home, their house has been modified. Boundaries, privacy, and space are all important. However, their ability to communicate effectively is what keeps things going. They schedule calm evenings at home, neighborhood fairs, family dinners, and little pleasures. They even plan dates. Abby and Brittany did not hold a press conference in March 2024 when the media frenzy struck. On TikTok, they instead shared a brief statement. Today, the internet is particularly noisy. We have existed forever. It was all in that one statement. The video that really went viral then came. The twins participated in a dance challenge during the event, which was held on April 15, 2024. People were astounded by their coordination. 15 million people viewed it. Everything was revealed in their posts. Silent family moments, amusing dance videos, and even their life reflections. They revived their former Instagram on May 1st, 2024. New Beginnings, Old Memories was the description for their debut post, which featured a picture of them as children. In just 1 hour, it received 500,000 likes. People were obviously still quite interested in them now that they were back. On May 5th, 4 days later, they presented a more intimate gift to everyone. They posted pictures from the wedding of Abby and Josh. The garment was made of flowing lace and was unique, made to precisely fit both sisters. Brittany was Abby's bridesmaid standing next to her. A Taylor Swift song was playing in the backdrop of a video of the outdoor ceremony. Adele's Rolling in the Deep remix served as the music for their first dance. It was strong in addition to being romantic. This side of them was adored by fans. The trio shared a family selfie on social media in September 2024. Josh, Brittany, and Abby were all grinning at the same time. Josh created it as the image for his Facebook profile. The same cozy feeling reappeared in a TikTok video on October 2. While preparing pumpkin-shaped bread, the three of them were in the kitchen, giggling. That small, joyful moment was witnessed by more than 3 million individuals. However, not all attention is positive when you're in the spotlight. There were several offensive remarks spoken. It was not disregarded by the twins. They responded with a TikTok video in March 2024. "Even if you don't like what I do, you're still a fan if you watch everything I do," a voiceover stated. It was audacious. It was flawless. They uploaded another one a few days later, on April 1st, stating that the internet is particularly noisy today. "We have existed forever." Two-headed sculptures from history were displayed in the video, evidence that conjoined twins are uncommon but not new. When the well-known conjoined twins, Abby and Brittany Hensel, shared a humorous TikTok, the internet was ablaze with interest. The headline, "Married and Expecting a Baby," briefly appeared in the little video. It took one sentence. Thousands of individuals filled the comments within hours. The possibility that the twins, who are now 34 years old, would be starting a family excited many, while others were speculating and celebrating. The responses were heartfelt. One user commented, "Congratulations! Being a mother is such a blessing." "Oh, congrats, Mom, Dad, and Auntie," added another. Hundreds of such messages were sent. Support from certain supporters was even more profound. "Ladies, if you were to become parents, I would be genuinely delighted for you. You have the freedom to live your life as you see fit, regardless of the cards you are dealt." People weren't merely interested, it was obvious. They were cheering them on. Abby and Brittany had previously talked candidly about pregnancy. Brittany had stated it clearly back in 2012 when they were on the TLC show Abby and Brittany. "Yes, we will become mothers. The dream was there," she acknowledged, but they hadn't figured out how it would work. Fans are now wondering if that fantasy is finally coming true over a decade later. Here's the problem, though. Nothing has been confirmed by the twins. No announcement, no statement, only that one enigmatic headline. They have already disclosed that they only have one uterus, which adds to the intrigue. Even additional worries about how a pregnancy would proceed have been raised by that fact alone. Not only is the prospect of having a child fascinating, but so are the difficulties and medical science involved. Extra attention has always been needed for Abby and Brittany's health. Doctors must be very accurate because they have some organs in common, but others are separate. Compared to ordinary people, they undergo more examinations. Both their individual and common systems are monitored by a group of experts. On April 7, 2014, medical professionals made an odd discovery. Brittany's spine was growing more slowly than Abby's. They had to do delicate surgery to arrest Abby's spinal growth, since that may have led to severe imbalance. It kept their bodies in alignment and worked. Despite having a single circulatory system, they also have two hearts. This implies that their blood pressure and flow need to be closely monitored. They have stress testing and echocardiograms every 3 months to ensure everything is operating as it should. Chest pain started for Brittany in October 2018. Doctors were happy to find nothing severe after a thorough round of testing. Another region that requires careful attention is their lungs. Brittany only has one lung, but Abby has two. They perform lung function testing twice a year as a result. They were placed under severe quarantine in 2020 during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic. They took additional care to keep their surroundings secure and clean, kept at home, and avoided interacting with strangers. All of this demonstrates how meticulously their lives must be planned and how thoroughly they are watched. If a pregnancy is genuine, it would be more than just private information. It would be a significant medical event. A time when all of their ideas and efforts might finally come together in a novel way. The majority of individuals believe they understand what conjoined twins' lives are like. However, the majority of people's assumptions about Abby and Brittany Hensel are incorrect. They have always been noticeable from the outside. One body, two heads. How were they unable to? However, their appearance isn't what truly distinguishes them. It is their way of living and their refusal to be constrained by the outside world. A common misconception is that conjoined twins share the same emotions or thoughts. However, Abby and Brittany have consistently stated that this is untrue. They are two entirely distinct individuals. They simply have a body in common. Viewers were taken aback when they appeared on their own TLC reality show back in 2012. The show showed how Brittany and a buddy may be laughing about music while Abby was discussing math with someone. The other person didn't always laugh when the first one thought something was hilarious. One may not care whether the other becomes irritated. Their brains were not the same. All they did was share space. However, others were questioning more than just their opinions. Their feelings, their private lives, and even their prospects for the future. All of those were also debatable. Many people believed they would never be able to fall in love, get married, or lead such a life. Abby then married Josh Bowling on September 3, 2021. A wedding that is private. A modest ceremony. But for anyone who had ever questioned what was conceivable, it was a momentous occasion. Their union was more than a display of affection. A stereotype was broken. People continued to have inquiries even after that. Were they able to work? Would they be able to work in an actual workplace? Could they manage a group of kids in a classroom? Brittany and Abby did not respond verbally. They responded by being present each and every day. In 2013, they began to teach, not just by showing up, but by doing it as professionals. They were regarded by the students. Their parents had faith in them. Their coworkers looked up to them. They weren't only getting by, they were doing quite well. They received the Educators of the Year award in May 2019. There was no sympathy in that award. It was attained via diligence, enthusiasm, and a profound influence on each and every student they instructed. They are still proving people incorrect now. They dispel stereotypes and educate people that being different does not equate to being less every day they live in public. Abby and Brittany have helped people perceive conjoined twins as human individuals rather than a medical mystery through their appearances, interviews, and just being themselves. Strong, complex, and brimming with potential. There is more to their narrative than just their triumphs. It concerns what they have constructed, a life that many believed was unattainable, a union, a profession, and above all, a strong message. To stand out, you don't need to be apart.